And Mitch and his mom and dad have taken care of this place for a long time, and he knows a lot of the good stories to tell and who's who and all of that. And so he's going to make it entertaining for us tonight as we walk through the old part of the cemetery. And I think there are only about 100 spots left, so this cemetery will be full before we know it. So anyway, glad you're here. I'm gonna let Mitch take over and give us some history and some interesting facts, and then we'll start our little walk.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Everybody hear me okay? I try to talk loud enough for everybody to hear me. My name is Mitch Hall, and when my dad passed away a couple years ago, I became the vice president of the Parker Memorial Cemetery. Steve Papano, which is part of the Sparks family, he's the president. Missy Sharp, his cousin, is our treasurer. And then Debbie Canalizo is a member of the board as well. And we, believe it or not, we have bylaws out here that we have to abide by as the board. When my dad passed away and we turned the board over, we started doing some digging, and we found the original deed to the cemetery in a safe deposit box at First National Bank in Keller, Texas, handwritten in pencil from 1881, which is when the cemetery was officially turned over to the state of Texas. So the state of Texas actually owns the property. The association itself is responsible for the upkeep and the maintenance. We are not part of the Texas State Cemetery Association for a very specific reason. It's too expensive. It's about $20,000 or $30,000 a year in dues and fines if you don't keep certain things done a certain way. And we are an old country cemetery with X number of dollars left in the bank. So the cemetery dates to around 1880, 76 to 81 is when the cemetery was started. It was originally called the Clements Cemetery until Polly Parker, I forget her last name, Parker was her maiden name, was buried out here, and it was renamed Parker Memorial Cemetery. So that's where the name comes from. Even though, should I say, my family, the Sparks and the Driscolls, started the original money part of the foundation, which was started in 1912. Today it has a little over $1 million in the foundation, in the account, in CDs. But by the bylaws, we're only allowed, I hate motorcycles. By the bylaws, we are only allowed to spend the interest off the CDs every year, which has been a challenge over the last 2 or 3 years because we've had several windstorms that have come through. Remember about 2.5 years ago, we had that straight line windstorm that came through? The one that knocked over that crane in downtown Dallas. In that storm, we lost 51 trees, and it knocked over 20 headstones. And it cost us about $16,000 or $17,000 to have all those trees removed, and the stones stood up for the most part. Some of the families chipped in to help stand up some of their family stones, but some of the family heritages that are buried out here, the entire family line is dead. And there's nobody left to set up the headstones or help us pay to do that. So when we have new burials out here, we tend to ask them to, while their trucks are out here, we'll say like, hey, can you stand up these couple of stones? And they'll typically do that for free if their truck is out here. Other than that, we have to pay somebody to come out. And sometimes if they're small enough, we'll stand them up. But the bonding adhesive you have to use to keep them standing is expensive as well. So we still have to pay there's some fee that comes out of our pocket. So that's where some of the expenses are. The board members here are volunteer. We are not paid. We don't take any money out of the cemetery association whatsoever. And it cost us about $12,000 to $15,000 a year in upkeep just to have it mowed. It's really expensive to have. So we're a little under 5 acres. I think it's 4.3 acres of property. We're mainly going to walk up this one side. So the south side, which is this side of the cemetery, is where most of the history of Grapevine lies. The other side has less history. They're relatively newer graves in the last 30 to 50 years graves. But we are a multicultural cemetery, believe it or not. We have every culture you can imagine. We have stones that are back from Civil War veterans that are buried out here. We have a couple of graves on this side of the fence line that over the years were buried on the wrong side of the property line. And so we're working on a project to get them moved back on this side of the cemetery. But believe it or not, we have to go work with the owners of that property, which is a corporation that rents out the property to the gas station that sits on it. So it gets kind of complicated, and every once in a while we have to get an attorney involved to help make sure that we're following. Plus, we have to do family lineage research and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm going to let my mom get up here and talk. My mom, about 25 years ago, basically, um, came out here and walked every inch of the cemetery and mapped it out in Visio and put numbers on every single grave. And then about 2 years before my dad passed away, so about 4 years ago, my dad paid a company to come out here and do GPS marking on every single grave. So we can actually provide families now with the GPS coordinates. It's kind of funny. Some of them have made tattoos on themselves about where their family is buried. It's kind of interesting. We never thought that would come out of it, but it did. So with that being said, I'm going to let Mom stand up and talk about mapping the cemetery, what all that took, the history she knows, and then we're going to walk up the hill.
And they drew a plot, and if there's somebody was buried, they put a hash mark in it. That was all we had. We had records from spiral notebooks. We had records from little index cards. We had records on just sheets of paper. So I took all of that, and thanks to my friend Tommy Simmons here, I learned how to do Visio because they were doing it at Bell Helicopter, and Tommy and I worked together. So I learned how to do Visio. So I walked the cemetery and put all those records together and came up with a map. Let's see, I think I put it in the car. So this is a map, and it's now numbered. The rows are numbered, the graves are numbered, and it needs to be updated. But it has names on it. Even the GPS coordinates don't have names. So the lady that sells our lots and still does this, Mitch Hall, goes by this. And I'm fixing to get Mitch to get me updated with Visio. But anyway, so part of what I'm going to tell y'all has to do with the Hall family, and this probably runs through the cemetery. But Frederick Wofowl came from Prussia to Grapevine to farm. And he had a daughter named Augustine Sheeman. And Augustine married August Sheeman. And Augustine had a daughter named Augustina that they called Tina. The two of the Augustine girls, Tina and Ada, married Hall brothers. So that's how the cemetery for the Weddells, the Scotts, the Gilberts, they're all combined through the Sheemans. The Sheemans had 7 children. So through all of those children, that's kind of where it started. So as we walk up there, we'll go by Polly Parker, and we'll go by August and Augustine, and then somewhere in around 15 years ago, Junior worked with Baylor Hospital, and what they were wanting to do, they were wanting to take babies that miscarry. They give them to Lucas Funeral Home. Lucas cremates them, and they didn't have a place to put them. So Junior made a deal with them, and we'll go by that. It's a beautiful little garden where Lucas Funeral Home comes out and they spread the ashes. And so the mothers and fathers have a place to come. So we'll see all of that on the way.
What are the qualifications to be buried here?
You just have to buy a lot.
You just had to buy a lot. Yeah. Our price today is, we just went up to $2,500 a lot. You can do 2 cremations, or depending on what part of the cemetery you can double stack 2 coffins. It depends. That's more on the newer side, the south side. I'm sorry, the north side, because This side, there's some rock. Over there, there's not. And so if you can go too deep, we'll let you. But believe it or not, they used to use dynamite to dig the graves out here. Y'all remember me talking about the dynamite license we had at Hall's Grocery? So they would come out here and dig a hole about 3 feet deep and put a piece of dynamite down in there and blow it up. And then they'd smooth it out and buried. So most of these graves on this south side have been hollowed out and sunken over the years. That's another thing. You'll see a big pile of dirt. So
Let me tell a little
go
bit
ahead.
So the Halls of Hall's Pumpkin Farm are big out here. James is the only grave digger that we use. James and Mindy are brother and sister.
Yeah.
And Jessie Lou just passed away. But James works out here. He comes out here anytime I call him. He is the sweetest man. And so they're big out here too. The Jess Hall family.
When my dad died, when his grave started sinking, this tells you what a kind human James is. He brought dirt from the Hall farm to fill in my dad's grave, to make sure the dirt that my dad grew up working on was on top of his grave. So he's just a real kind human being. So that's the reason that's the only grave digger we allow out here, because he knows the property. He knows how deep we can go, where we can go, where we can dig, where we can't, all that kind of fun stuff.
So if someone wanted to be buried, would they Google Parker Cemetery Association? Is that how y'all come up?
Yeah, they do that, and they call Marindy through Hall's Grocery, and they'll literally call Hall's Grocery and ask for Marindy, and they'll take down a number, and the number is been socialized that way. We don't have like a formal website. Again, anything that costs money, we tend to say no.
Somebody might not know it's Hall Association. They just wanted to bury
We just had this discussion amongst the board meeting. We're working on putting a permanent sign out here that has a phone number on it that will route to one of us any given time, that will give some information. But we really don't. We've only have about 100, maybe 120 graves left, and most of those are purchased. So we really don't have a lot of graves left for sale. So we haven't put a lot of effort into that. We have thought about putting up a website with some of the historical information. Again, we're hoping to work with GCISD on, they have classes at GCISD now around making websites, and we're hoping to get them to help us build one. Yeah.
You know what else? It would be a wonderful Eagle Scout project.
Yes.
And there's a lot of stuff. The Eagle Scout, the Boy Scout Troop 7.
Yeah, Junior got Boy Scout Troop number 7 because he was a member of that when he was younger, and they built this, and they came out and painted the benches, and they've done several projects out here. But Grapevine is Parker Cemetery is 3 miles from downtown Grapevine, and this was called the Glade. It was a separate park called the Glade where all the farming went on. And so my husband.
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah.
This was 157. Yeah, that was 157.
That was 157. We have pictures of that as a dirt road. And my husband, his first marriage, he met a girl from Keller. And I asked him, I said, why didn't you ever date girls from Grapevine? And he said, Nancy, I was afraid I was kin to them. because all of those 7 kids of the Shemans married out, and that's who all's buried here. So, yeah.
Well, in high school, so I went to high school. I graduated from Grapevine in 1990, and we didn't have cell phones back then, right? I never had to worry. My parents never had to worry about where I was, because everywhere I went, every corner I turned, I was kin to somebody. They just call and say, I just saw Mitch drive by, and I get home, he goes, you don't have to tell me where you were. I know where you were. You had a question, I'm sorry. Not yet. We're working on some of those projects like that right now. It's a little bit more complicated than you would imagine. You have to fill out an application. You have to wait until they meet once a year to find a grave people. We've dug into it, but we haven't gone. My dad wasn't that technically savvy, so he really didn't get into that stuff. So now that I'm here, I've been here for a couple of years now. We're actively starting to have conversations on how to update some of that stuff. So yes, but no. This piece of property is owned by the state of Texas. So if you fall or trip out here, you got to talk to them. Once you have so many graves, you have to elect to be purchased by the state, or you have to be self-maintained and insured. And back then, the board of directors determined they wanted it to be owned by the state, so we didn't have to have that expense. Because back then, we just didn't have the money. And the money that has gained interest all these years, so there's a little over $1 million sitting in the actual account, the CDs and funds that are sitting in the actual account. My dad would never say that number, but I will. We're only allowed to spend the interest off of it. And that's not a lot of interest on a low interest bearing CD. And man, our budget's been wiped out the last 3 years like in a way you've never seen before. So we're operating on thin. So we're actively discussing whether or not to amend the bylaws to allow us to access one of the smaller CDs so we can upgrade some things, put some internet out here, put some cameras out here, and put some more lighting out here. Yeah.
Do you have much trouble with vandalism?
Yes.
That's the question somebody asked a while ago. Yes and no, not very often. They usually leave the headstones alone, but some people will come out here and try to bury some stuff. And I'll tell you a funny story about that when we get about halfway up the.
We did have homeless people sleeping under here, and the Grapevine police told Junior to call them first, and he did that several times. But other times he would talk to them, and they would get up and leave.
Actually, what he did is he would ask them to say, "Hey, if you want to sleep on the benches, I don't care if you'll help keep the cemetery clean." So the homeless people would actually go out to the cemetery and pick up the trash that people leave. And then the city got involved. I'm just giving Duff a hard time. The city got involved and said, "Look, you have to call the police." So that's when we switched from that model to calling the police, and that didn't really become a problem until the train started coming to downtown. That's how we started getting more homeless people, because not a lot of the homeless people wanted to walk this far from the either Dallas or Fort Worth, the city itself.
Trying to sleep here?
Yeah, they sleep on the benches.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there was a man that was camped out in this old restroom. You'll see up here.
We just had this
yeah,
poured
yeah,
right
and
here
we had
because
so many out here.
when they have a casket burial
Yeah.
and they want to have the service under the
And
tabernacle, they were having to have
And
the
we try
caskets
to get
carried
running
across
up
instead of
enough
wheeled across.
to at
And
least
some of
put
the
a bridge
elder
if
folks
we know
were
somebody.
having a hard time getting
You know.
across here, so we had this
Write their name in the
piece of
Yeah.
cement
Yeah.
laid year before last.
1992.
I'll find him.
And if we can find him, I'm going to bring a flag and put a flag
On this,
Memorial service this weekend.
in relation to the Hall family,
I did a Thanksgiving
this
meal.
strip right here all the way up to the top is
Yeah,
mainly
but
the
you
Hall
don't live
family.
fast anymore.
There's some other families kind of interwoven in
I didn't
between,
know
but
myself. Sold out.
like that's my grandfather and great grandfather, great great grandfather, great 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 grandfather. So I'm a 6th generation Hall. My dad was a 5th generation. On this line, you'll see 4 generations of Halls buried along the way. Right there. Gail was buried right here with her son Deke. They're both cremated, and they're inside one concrete case, and I promise you, they're in there fighting. But Deke and Gail died 12 days off each other. Deke died 12 days before she did. Deke had Huntington's disease, and Gail died of, obviously, brain cancer. I bought her house when she passed away, so I live in her house. But that's where they are. And this is Grandma. This is where Grandma Minnie is right here. And then my grandfather died when I was 9 years old, almost 10. I was just about to turn 10 years old when he passed away. I'm sorry? Me, I'm 53. Yeah.
Love you have one of her elephants there.
Yeah.
She collected elephants.
Y'all, when we moved into the house and we pulled the carpet up, we found elephants under the carpet.
Never seen somebody else.
I've never seen so many elephants in my life. And so
So this is Tina Hall. Augustina
Okay.
and she married James. And then Ada, and she married William Hall, and they're over there. So this is all Halls right here, the three.
These are all halls. They're all the way up to that big tree up there. We'll talk about that when we get up there. Days ago. So we're trying to find a company that knows what to do with them, but they're very hard to kill.
Oh, that's Mike. Is that Mike?
That's Bratcher.
Oh, okay.
You remember
Yeah.
Bratcher?
Junior was in the lodge with him.
He's burying his second son.
They don't have that many rules out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what, those cactuses become a problem. They're expensive to remove because they root real deep. People come out here and bury little cactuses next to their family and think, oh, he loved a cactus. And then we have to pay $800 to have it removed. That one out there, right there, probably $500 to have it removed.
So if we want a cactus, we come here.
Sure. You are welcome to come out here and pick up a cactus anytime you want, honey. And we are actually, believe it or not, a quarter of this cemetery is made up of Jewish people.
Wow.
Probably another 10% is probably African American. We have on the other side, where you see that guy standing over there right there, that's the Tongan. They come off of the Tongan Islands somewhere out in the Asian.
Hawaii.
Yes, and let me tell you something, y'all. They come out here every weekend and have a party on top of their family's graves. And they bring those Mexican piñatas and they bust them out here, and we end up with confetti all over the place. So we had to call them and tell them, you can't do that unless you clean every single piece of it up. So they've stopped bringing those things. But man, we don't mind them coming out here and grieving their loved ones, but don't make a mess while you're out here because we have to pay to clean it up. This is the most recent. Civil War grave. No, this is. Yeah. Evie just died. And her husband, there's the nicest family in the world, like nicest people you've ever met. But Evie just passed away. Literally in January. I've kept in touch with this family. This was the first family I dealt with as the vice president of the cemetery. Kindest people you'll ever know. But we have a lot of Jewish graves out here. We have a lot of Asian graves. Most of these rocks you can't. Let me just go back out to the street. I don't want anybody to fall. Bushes right here had grown over here, and it cost us $1,000 to have all this removed. But we just uncovered these graves.
There's so
Now,
much work I could do out here, but I'm getting too old.
there's a funny story. So right here, can you see where my flashlight's pointed? This is a funny story. See where my flashlight's pointed right there? So right after this is a really funny story. Right after my dad passed away, I had to go in the hospital. I was really sick, and I just gotten out of the hospital, and the guy that mows the place asked me to come meet him out here. So I told him, I said, I'll come out here, but I just got out of the hospital, and like I don't want to walk all over the cemetery. He goes, that's fine. So we got about to this point, and he said, do you want to know something funny? And I said, sure. But right here at the head of this tree, he reaches down and he uncovers what looks to be like a black hockey puck. And he goes, you want to know what that is? And I said, well, now you've got me curious. And he reaches down and he pulls it out, and it is an upside down mason jar. And the bottom of it has black electrical duct tape. Makes it look like a black hockey puck. And he goes, you want to know what's in here? And he starts to hand it to me. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to touch that thing. He goes, it's a pair of panties and a love note. What do you want me to do with it? I said,
back on the grave.
I said somebody needed some love in the afterlife, so just leave it there. You would not believe all the little bitty things that are buried around this thing that people have brought out here that people don't know about. There's just been covered up over the years. Yeah, there's a pair of pennies and a love note in a mason jar right there by that tree. I'm not going to dig it up. I figured I'd just leave them alone. Let's go up here. This is one whole family right here. This is the oldest part of the cemetery. We're going to go over here first. This lady comes out here every single Friday and sits out here for probably 4 or 5 hours on a chair next to her husband. And she's the sweetest lady. And he died during COVID. Yeah. It's a beautiful headstone, isn't it?
That is very costly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what worries me, that somebody would come out here and take something like that off of the take the rosary off. Yeah.
Well,
Mom can tell you this story right here.
they used to lock the gates because they had people that would come up here in the back and change the oil on their cars and leave the mess. So they put the gates up and they started locking the gates. But then your families can't come in, so they've started leaving them open, and that's kind of quit. So maybe that generation figured out, that's not a cool thing to do.
About y'all are looking into what it costs to establish cameras out here. Where is that on your pecking list?
Well, they've got to get internet first
Oh, okay.
because the gas station owners ask them to do cameras on the tabernacle, but they don't have internet, so they got to do internet first.
So we're looking at putting those deer hunting cameras out here that just have these long batteries. Yeah. Step over here, please. That's one of the Johnsons of Hall Johnson Road right there.
Oh,
This is the Shemans. These are my great, 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 great grandparents. These are the Shemans, August and Augustine, that migrated over here from what was known as Prussia, which is today known as Berlin, in Germany. And they came in through, best my research can tell, is through Virginia, across Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then down from Oklahoma. There used to be a wagon trail it's under Lake Grapevine, that came from Louisville under what is now Lake Grapevine across to here. And the story is that's where the wagon broke down and they weren't going any further. Literally.
That's what happened with my family. One of their sons they thought he just had lung problems. He had TB. And none of the rest of them got it. He got to Texas to Grapevine Springs in Coppell.
Oh.
And that's why my family stopped here and they stayed here because they had to bury him here.
Yeah.
What year was this?
1878.
Yes, and I am looking for her father. Augustine's father, Fred, is somewhere in here, but I can't find him.
He's
But-
probably one of the older graves that are at this point is either is buried over or combed over.
But he was the first one to come from Prussia. So he started the stream that came from Prussia. And can you imagine making that trip to Grapevine? And they were farmers on the glade. And like I said, they had 7 children. So we thank them for building up Grapevine.
They farmed the area where Chicken and Pickle is today. There's Weddles, Johnsons, Halls,
was
Driscolls, and
1921.
Sharps are the biggest mainstay of the cemetery.
Now, I don't know if y'all want to walk over there, but
Sorry?
Polly Parker's buried right in there where that big stone is.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Polly Parker's buried right over
Well,
there.
let's go look at her.
Oh, okay.
These are the GPS markers. These little metal
they're
stakes.
Row markers.
Row markers.
Okay, explain about the rocks, Mitch.
What about the rocks?
Okay, so back in the day, before they had headstones, when they buried somebody out here, they just put a rock. And so we know who all those people are, but
These are probably mainly Civil War veterans and babies. A lot of kids didn't live at birth back then for various and sundry reasons. Medical, healthcare wasn't a thing back then. Science was so new. And so these are mainly all around the Civil War era. Well, Civil War ended what, in 1865, I think? So yeah, this is about that time frame. Right, they would have been born around the Civil War. That's a yes.
Are the little stones the babies?
I think it's a
Some
This
are
is Polly
footstones
Parker.
and some are babies.
So this one really is slick.
It'd surprise you. No,
Because they're not buried.
everybody's buried with the feet heading their
this was
feet
her
heading
husband,
east.
Isaac.
I'm quite
deeded the
sure up
land
in
to
this
her,
area there's a
Polly
whole lot of mismarked stuff that's been washed over all the years, or the grave has collapsed, and they don't think anybody's down there, and they
As it
double
was.
buried on top
That's why
of
it's so
before
old.
modern day history came
Um,
about.
We have no idea. But Marindy, that's
Yeah, watch
doing
for the rocks.
the
Yeah.
grave selling now, she's done a lot of research, and she found out who two of these are.
Oh, really?
Uh huh.
That's huge.
Yes.
This is who the cemetery is named after, Polly Parker.
Mhm.
This is her husband.
Yes. And their kids,
Is that the
grandkids.
Parkers that we know from
No,
No,
no.
no.
the Parkers from,
I don't think so
Well,
because
Hoyts.
I know Eric
don't
and
know.
all of them. I don't know of any of them being buried out here.
Uh-huh.
I think probably the divide was
It very well
the
could be.
Glade in downtown Grapevine. They're probably at Grapevine.
Back then, and I had to look this up, there's old folklore about your head's in the west, your feet are in the east, and this whole graveyard is west-east buried.
because Jesus is supposed to be from the east.
Yes, yeah. You got to be ready to get up and go.
The Muslims, when they come
A
in,
lot of people
we had to face.
will come out here and clean their own graves. So there's still some Parkers alive here. There's a new headstone over here, a relatively new one.
Their butt.
Oh.
This is relatively,
Yeah.
You can't bury your butt going towards Mecca.
Yeah. This to me is
Yeah, this
sad.
is
We don't
relatively
know
new.
who those people are, but they're people. I mean, there's somebody that's buried, and probably.
I'm
a lot
not
of
sure what that
children.
symbol is.
You know,
Oh, yeah,
children
yeah,
died of
yeah, yeah.
sicknesses, and
You know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what these symbols mean. Is it military? Is it Confederate? Okay.
And then the lips.
Well, this would have been the end of the Civil War, so this would be apropos for this era.
No, they were buried in the lips.
And we keep these piles of dirt up here to James does to fill in the sinking graves.
James is the nicest guy I've ever met.
James
in my
Nelson
life.
is the kindest man on earth.
Well,
yes,
see, I dated a guy that looked just like him, and Jessica was playing the.
Uh-huh.
And she ran back to the back of the thing, and when she got there, she goes, "Oh, damn, my dear." And I went, "What, Jessie Lou?" She goes, "I thought you were back on the back seat with my son." And I said, "Oh, he does look like James, doesn't he?" And it was so cute.
So this is the oldest part of the cemetery.
This right here's the oldest part.
This is the original land.
I'm assuming a lot of these are children, because children got diseases back then.
Yeah. I think some of the
And-
smaller stones are kids and some of the bigger stones are adults. But most of these up here you can't read anymore.
Oh, and even if you got that stuff, it's like it's just.
They're 150-year-old rocks.
It's so sad that we don't know exactly who they are or whatever.
Some of them you can still read. I mean, the people that did the GPS marking took really clear pictures of them and tried to, blow them up and look at them real close. But some of them are just wiped. Over time, the weather and the water and the rain and the storms and, some of the tree roots knocked over a lot of these. And, some of them were double buried because the graves collapsed from the old, truly wooden coffins that collapsed that weren't waterproof. That's why this middle part of the cemetery and that part of the cemetery all looks new. And this is, you have no idea there how many people are buried out here. I estimate there's a little over 1,000 people buried out here. And the reason why I say estimate, I don't know the number, is because of this part of the cemetery. We really can't count it.
Yeah. Use divining rods at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, James comes up here and pokes the graves and there's some water that runs down the middle of the cemetery, but it's really deep. Like an aquifer, like it's really, like the water table is really, really deep, but we don't have that much of a problem of stones falling over unless they're just incredibly old like this.
One of our guys built water all the way down. He put pipe all the way down the hill from the center section. But the hill is so rocky, it kept breaking. And they were always out here fixing a pipe, so they just cut it off. So there's no water to the cemetery, and I would like to get that fixed because...
Well, I think we're going to drop a water main down there by the tabernacle and just get hoses that are long enough to drag all the way up here. But this ground is soft enough where they can dig a grave without needing water at all. But really, nobody gets buried up here anymore. We don't really let people bury up here unless there's some very special reason.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little black boy. I'm sorry, Jerry. There's a little black boy right there on the other side of the fence between those trees right there. That's on the wrong side of the fence. And we're working on a project to figure out how to get him exhumed. But we got to get in touch with the owner of that property. So the people that own that property don't own the gas station. They just own the property. And the land is rented to the gas station. And so the people that own it have to give us permission to go dig and look. But it's somewhere right there from the best we can records.
Headstone, or does
No.
he just know he's there?
Yeah, Mirandy's the one that found him in the records.
Wow.
So, but we're not in a big hurry to do that.
Mirandy, is that how you say it? Because I didn't know.
It's Jeremy's
Yeah.
Jeremy's
how you
wife.
said it.
Yeah.
We try to keep it in the family.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've had Sharps on the board, Weddles on the board. That was big with Junior to keep the old families on the board. So
Let's-
we've done
Is there
that.
any chance that there are bodies beneath those houses?
No,
No, mm-mm,
no,
probably not.
no. This land was deeded in 1881, and so there was a clear boundary drawn in 1881. But that's the only grave we can find over here that we know that's outside the boundaries.
Was it because it was black?
We don't know. Probably, it probably was.
There is a story about a little black boy that drowned, and he's one
Somewhere
of these
in here.
rocks. Yeah, he's one of these rocks.
Wait till everybody gets here.
My husband did a lot of things, but this is the most proud that I am of him, that he partnered with Baylor Hospital.
Over
They
here.
send the babies to Lucas. Lucas cremates them, and then Lucas comes out here and pours the ashes, just spreads them.
So this is the Garden of Hope that my dad established in 1999. So every baby that's been stillborn or born, what we call born sleeping, at what was it called before? Grapevine Regional Hospital.
Yeah.
Grapevine Regional, and then Baylor Scott and Watt bought it, but the contract is with both entities. So since 1999, the cemetery paid to have this stone put up, and the babies are born at Baylor Scott and Watt. If they're born sleeping, they will take them to Lucas Funeral Homes. They will cremate them, and then Mark Kelly will bring them up here and spread their ashes in this area right here. And then about once a year, once every other year, I'll take all these teddy bears home and wash them. And I'll throw away the ones that fall apart because they're just disintegrating because they sit out in the weather. But we've been trying to think of some sort of plexi box we could put here that is see-through. And we've been thinking about using some of the funds to pay for something to put the teddy bears in.
If you'll see here, there's little trinkets.
Yeah, they bring little buses, kids paint for their, and ducks, and teddy bears. And every once in a while, about once a year, we get a $5,000 check from a mysterious family that we've never heard of that will say Garden of Hope on the check. About once a year, we get about $5,000. Yeah.
Somebody's left a balloon and
in a silver
Yeah.
present box back here. But yeah, and we don't ask them who they are. We don't ask for names. We don't ask for anything. If they want to keep it private, they can. If they want to donate, like the Dillon family did over here, the Jameses, Huffmans. So yeah, they'll bring some stuff up here every once in a while. And this, we just kind of let them do whatever they want to do. But the cemetery paid for this headstone to be created.
Nick, did you design this, or did you hire someone to design this space?
The hospital, my dad and the current board at that time, which would have been Jay Sparks, they worked on it together.
There was a chaplain at the hospital. Her last name was Black, and that's who he worked with at the time. But she's not there anymore. But he worked hand in hand with the chaplain at the hospital.
It's very special.
You'll come out here every once in a while, you'll see a family sitting on that bench right there. When we come out here, we leave people alone. That's one of our biggest rules. When you come out here, leave people alone. They're out here respecting their loved ones or grieving. Leave them alone. Don't talk to them. If they want to approach you, we let them. You know, I've been out here a few times where someone's approached me and they ask me who I am, and I'll tell them who I am and why I'm out here. But we leave people alone out here.
This is beautiful. Did you get the bench donated, or did
Yeah.
you did?
Everything got donated. This matches that
This was
Fort
grass,
Worth Monument.
and it kept dying. They couldn't keep it up because there's no water in the cemetery, so they made it stone.
And that's it, folks. That's your
So-
tour.